Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Oliver settled into the chair that had been his personal seat for the last 10 years. A chair gifted to him by his ex-wife for Christmas. It always seemed like an odd present to him. Who gives a chair for Christmas? But she had known him better than most. She understood that this seemingly unusual gift was perfect for him. The chair felt like it had been custom-made to his dimensions. The cup holders were ideal for his drinks, and the Bluetooth speakers built into the headrest enveloped him in sound. Many nights he had fallen asleep in this chair, comfortably stretching his legs. This chair was the last reminder of a life he once had. His daughter now lived with her mother in the house he was no longer allowed to visit, along with the dog he had given her one Christmas, a dog he had taken care of more than anyone else. His daughter had never been the one to walk, feed, or bathe the dog. She only hugged it while Oliver sighed heavily. This was his first Christmas alone, just him and the chair. As he sat there, his phone rang. The name on the screen made him frown. He glanced at the clock. The day was nearing its end, and this had been the longest Christmas Eve he could remember. Was it worth answering? He could easily ignore the call and let the answering machine pick it up. But something inside him, the part of him that lived for self-punishment, made him answer the phone. It was like an itch he couldn't stop scratching. "Hello, Amelia," he said, bringing the phone to his ear. Her voice, familiar but burdened with sadness, echoed in his mind. There was still sweetness in her tone, though it was now tinged with the sorrow that had colored their recent conversations. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was filled with the weight of their 18 years together, the joy they had shared, and the grief they had endured. Finally, Oliver broke the silence. "I didn't think you'd call this year." "Why wouldn't I call?" she responded softly. "We promised, remember? We swore we would always be the first to wish each other Merry Christmas no matter what. That was our rule." A faint smile crossed his face as he recalled it. "Promises were always your strong suit." "Oliver, you're right. It's my fault. That's all in the past now," she said, leaving a pause for him to accept her apology. But before he could, she spoke again. "So, what are you doing tomorrow?" "Nothing special," he replied. "I'll give Olivia her gift when you drop her off, then head to my parents' for dinner. What about you?" "Oh, nothing special," she said, though they both knew it wasn't true. Oliver was about to let the lie slide, but he couldn't hold back. The familiar urge to stir old wounds overtook him. "So, no plans with... what's his name?" She held her breath for a moment. Even without saying his name, the mention of her new boyfriend was a painful jab. "You mean Charlie?" she finished for him. "Yes, Charlie," Oliver said, unable to completely hide the bitterness in his voice. Just saying his name sparked a surge of anger inside him. He had replayed it over and over in his mind. It wasn't just a single moment. It was an entire hour of reading her messages. Each one revealed the details of her 3-year affair, each one a fresh wound, leaving a void where his heart had once been. Amelia sighed, her breath carrying the weight of her sorrow. "If you really want to know, we're going to his parents' place after we drop off Olivia." "Of course," he muttered under his breath. A tear slowly rolled down Amelia's cheek, though Oliver couldn't see it from the other end of the line, and even if they had been face to face, he probably wouldn't have noticed. Engulfed in a fog of confusion, he barely noticed when Amelia approached him with fury. Her words dripped with venom as she hissed, "I really don't understand why you're so angry. You don't care anyway. You're the one who left, remember?" He only laughed louder. It amazed him how she always managed to turn the situation upside down, as if it were her talent, almost a gift. But if she had a superpower, it wouldn't be telepathy or anything impressive. No, her gift was the ability to reshape reality to suit herself, denying any responsibility. "What's so funny?" she demanded, her anger flaring even more. "Why do you never take me seriously?" "Because Amelia," he replied, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're full of nonsense. That's why." Me? I'm full of nonsense? She asked, her voice rising in astonishment. Exactly, he confirmed, still stunned that she even asked the question. I'm the one who ruined everything? Seriously? And what about your 3-year affair? That didn't affect anything, right? All those nights when you sat next to me watching movies while secretly texting him, did that mean nothing? Or the emergency 3-day trip to take care of your sick mom? Enough! I've heard enough, she interrupted, raising her voice to shut him up before he could continue. And perhaps that was for the best. There was a lot more he wanted to say. You've heard enough? Really, Amelia? His voice grew sharper, irritation building as her defense began to crack. She was on the verge of tears, her breathing unsteady, trying to hold herself together. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling. I know I messed everything up, Oliver. I destroyed it all. I was selfish. I didn't appreciate you. She paused, and her guilt was evident in every word. I tore our family apart. Every day I wake up in a house that feels like an empty shell without you. Our daughter can't even look me in the eye. Her voice broke, but she continued through the pain. And every night when I close my eyes... Don't, Oliver interrupted, his voice filled with emotion. Just don't. He felt himself losing control, his composure slipping. Why couldn't he just stay calm? Why did she still have such power over him, making him unravel like this? Don't what? Amelia snapped, her eyes narrowing. Tell the truth? Isn't that what you've always wanted? She hoped for some reaction, a smile, a laugh, something that might ease the tension. Humor had always been their thing. They'd bonded on their first date watching A Few Good Men and throwing lines back and forth from the movie. But now those memories offered no comfort. Oliver's face hardened. All he could think about was how much she had thrown away for some random guy she met online. His gaze turned cold, piercing, like an icy stab. Oh, I'm all for the truth, he replied, his voice chilling. The problem is I always have to drag it out of you because all you do is lie. His words hit her like a slap. She burst into tears, her body shaking with sobs she had held back for so long. He saw her pain, but couldn't find any sympathy in himself. Despite everything, the separation, the hurt, his heart still somehow beat in sync with hers. In his mind, he still pictured her sitting in the living room they once shared, wrapped in an old robe she couldn't part with. It had belonged to her mother, and though worn and faded, it brought her comfort. Underneath, she would wear his boxers and one of his t-shirts. It was their little joke. When he traveled for work, she would sleep in his clothes, claiming it made her feel safe. But that weekend she spent with another man? Oliver doubted she had worn anything of his. In fact, he suspected she wasn't wearing much at all. Forgive me, Oliver, she whispered through her tears, her voice so faint it was nearly drowned out by her sobbing. How many more times do I have to say it? How long will it take until you finally forgive me? Her voice trembled with sorrow, every word filled with desperate pleading. I'll forgive you when I stop loving you, she whispered softly, almost to herself. Maybe then the pain in my chest will go away. Maybe then the emptiness inside me will finally disappear. And maybe then I'll be able to sleep, without reliving the moment I saw that message where you told him you loved him. Perhaps. The weight of his grief was too much for Oliver. His sobs, louder than hers, shattered the silence, his body shaking with each one. He pressed his palm against his eyes, trying in vain to stop the tears streaming down his face. Her heart tightened at the sight of his suffering. She wanted to hold him, kiss his forehead and let him cry on her shoulder. But she couldn't. She had caused too much pain to do that. Patty, for God's sake, stop calling me that! His sudden outburst on the phone made her fall silent. Amelia reminded herself that comforting him wasn't an option. She was the cause of his pain. It was a bitter truth they would both have to live with. Oliver, she began cautiously, how long are we going to keep torturing ourselves like this? Don't you understand that you're not just punishing me? He replied quietly. You're hurting Olivia, and you're tormenting yourself too. She hesitated, searching for the right words. I know you're angry at me, and you have every right to be, but that's why we need to seek help. He interrupted her, his voice surprisingly calm. "But you're still seeing him, Amelia." Her voice faltered, and silence hung between them. "You even told me you're planning to meet his parents. That's a serious step in any relationship, isn't it?" His words lingered in the air like a dark cloud. "How long did you wait after our breakup before going to him? Days? Weeks? Or did it happen sooner?" He didn't need her to answer. They both knew. She went to him the very next evening. After dropping Olivia off at his house, she felt justified, even proud, that she wasn't the woman who deprived a child of time with her father. "I just don't understand," he continued, his voice full of pain and bewilderment. "After everything we've been through, how could you think so little of us, of me? We were married for 18 years, Amelia. We have a 15-year-old daughter." His voice broke as memories flooded him. "You were there when my brother died, killed in the line of duty. You held me when I cried. And I was there for you when your mother lost her battle with cancer. And after all that, not only did you cheat on me, but you ran straight to him. The ink on our separation papers hadn't even dried, and you were already gone. And now you call me suggesting family therapy? Amelia, go to hell." His anger crashed over her like a tidal wave. Amelia let out a cry of frustration, her voice sharp and raw. But something inside Oliver shifted this time. It all became clear to him. Yes, Amelia had always been selfish, and she always would be. It was no secret that Oliver loved her more than she loved him. That didn't mean she didn't love him at all. She did. But their marriage had always been about making her happy. As long as she was content, nothing else seemed to matter. Neither of them realized what their relationship truly was until it was too late. Oliver was raised to believe that his wife's happiness was his highest calling. He took pride in being the perfect husband. He never cheated, never yelled, never raised his hand in anger. When they argued, he was always the first to apologize, even if it wasn't his fault. If her feelings were hurt, that was enough for him to back down. Was that wrong? Of course not. Every man should treat his wife as though she were the most important woman in the world. But Oliver made one crucial mistake. He forgot about balance. He neglected his own needs, his own desires. If she wanted something and it was within his power, he did everything he could to make it happen. His sacrifices didn't matter. Her smile always seemed like enough of a reward. When one person's needs are constantly ignored, something begins to change. Gradually, this becomes the new normal, as if that's how things are supposed to be. Anything that deviates from this pattern starts to feel unfamiliar, almost wrong. When Oliver's brother died, Amelia was by his side. She stood with him at the funeral, cried with him, and sincerely supported her husband. That's what is expected from a loving wife. But his grief plunged to depths she couldn't understand, especially since she had already gone through her own loss when her mother lost the battle with cancer. That loss had been unbearable for her. She grieved too. Every day she felt the weight of her mother's absence but continued moving forward. However, there's a vast difference between watching someone slowly fade away and having them suddenly ripped out of life. Oliver's brother didn't just die. His life was cut short in an instant, while he was doing more than just his job. He was a police officer, but his role extended beyond the badge. He had pulled a woman from a burning car, staying with her until he was sure she was safe. He had protected a mother from her abusive husband. And to top it off, he gave their neighbor Isabella rides to work in his patrol car because she was being stalked. In the end, his life ended during a routine traffic stop. A cracked taillight changed everything. If someone who had done so much good could be killed that way, what awaited Oliver? He felt insignificant, just another man running an office. His biggest contribution to the world was sorting recyclables. His brother's death shook Oliver to his core. It wasn't just about losing his brother. When Oliver looked into the casket, he saw his own reflection there. If anyone should have been lying in that coffin, he believed it should have been him, not his brother, who was a hero to many. Therapy could have been an outlet, but Oliver rejected it. Instead, he sunk into silent despair, mourning inside, though not a single tear ever fell. Amelia couldn't understand what he was going through. He never let her into his pain. She couldn't give him the help he needed because even he couldn't articulate what that was. He didn't expect her to pull him out of his sadness. He didn't need her to fix him or magically free him from his survivor's guilt. All he really wanted was for her to be there, consistently, even when he couldn't ask for it. But over time, their relationship began to revolve around ignoring his emotions. He sat in silence, emotionally unreachable. Yes, he was grieving, overwhelmed by his sorrow, but it had gone on too long. He needed to break free of it. His family was there, loving him, and that should have been enough to pull him out of the darkness, but it wasn't. He needed something more. He needed to be seen, to be a priority. At least once, it should have been about him. The more she grew disappointed, the more distant he became. The further he withdrew, the more everything fell apart. And that's when Charlie entered the scene. She met him online. But no, this wasn't an innocent conversation about recipes or home projects. Amelia was looking for something, confirmation that she was still attractive, still worthy of attention, and she found it. She didn't intend to be unfaithful. A few flirty messages, a couple of pictures. It all seemed innocent enough. "You're just gorgeous," he told her. The picture she sent wasn't even her best, but he made her feel like a supermodel. That's how it all started. Playful texting grew into something more pictures, more confessions. Then came the bikini shot. His compliments made her laugh. And the pictures kept coming, each one bolder than the last. But that was just on the surface. If it had all stopped there, she might have been able to pull back before things went too far. But it was the phone calls that really hooked her. Stolen moments during the day, the sound of his voice, his laughter, his breath that felt so close. It was those fleeting connections that made resistance impossible. He was no longer just a faceless figure behind the screen, sending her playful messages. He had become someone real, a man with warmth, humor, and a genuine interest in her. Each conversation revealed his sensitivity, and she began laughing in a way she hadn't for years. When she complained about her husband, he was always there, encouraging her and making her feel needed, just like Oliver used to. The last holiday weekend, woven from layers of lies, became the final chapter of her marriage. He knew about her mother's illness, the slow devastation of cancer. When Amelia suddenly left to be with her, his thoughts immediately took a dark turn. He should have felt her grief, the kind that was supposed to bring them closer. But instead, his jealousy and insecurity forced him to break out of his selfishness. Deciding to be by her side, he panicked and booked 2 last-minute tickets, hoping they would go together. His intention was to show up with Olivia to support Amelia in this difficult time. But Amelia firmly rejected the idea. She insisted that this was a journey she needed to go through alone, which puzzled him. Why would anyone want to endure such a painful experience without their partner's support? Why was she pushing him away when he was ready to be there for her, even just to comfort her? And yet, when her mother died, she didn't ask him to come. That's when doubt began to take root in his soul. His suspicions started to grow from small things. Her phone was always with her, even in the bathroom. She placed it face down on the table or turned it away when texting. Sometimes she even left the room to take a call. One day, by pure accident, she left her phone at home. Curiosity gnawed at him, and he tried to unlock it, only to find that she had changed the password from their anniversary date. Her old code had been used for everything, her bank accounts, voicemail, all her passwords. But now it was different. When she rushed back, clearly anxious to retrieve it, his suspicions deepened even further. The fear in her eyes was almost a confession, but he needed more. He waited, keeping his doubts to himself, watching her carefully, pretending he suspected nothing. Finally, the day came when he saw her enter the new code. The new code, a 4-digit combination, meant nothing to him. He silently repeated the numbers until they were imprinted in his mind. Later, he would learn that those numbers were Charlie's birthday. Oliver looked at the clock on the wall and realized that Christmas had officially arrived. "It's Christmas now, Amelia," Oliver said, feeling utterly exhausted after their brief conversation. She sobbed on the other end. "Yes, I guess it is." Neither of them was willing to end the call. Their reluctance to hang up mirrored the state of their relationship. Despite everything, neither of them had filed for divorce. Even though Amelia was planning to meet Charlie's parents that day, she hadn't taken the final step. A part of her, despite everything that had happened, was still hoping for a Christmas miracle. She wanted Oliver to say he couldn't live without her, that he was coming back. If he had said that, she would have left Charlie in an instant. But Amelia didn't realize that her hesitation, her inability to put Oliver first, was exactly what prevented that miracle from happening. Every day that she didn't make him her priority, he drifted further away. They were both trapped, with no clear way forward. Though Oliver still had feelings for her, they were weighed down by pain and conflict. Her betrayal had hurt him deeply, but it no longer consumed him as it once did. There was a time when thoughts of her and her affair occupied his mind, but now those moments were becoming rare. Today was an exception. Soon the days would pass, and she would appear in his thoughts less and less. Over time, she would become just the mother of his child, a distant memory of a person he once knew. This limbo couldn't last forever. "Merry Christmas, Amelia," Oliver finally said, and this time he meant it sincerely. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Amelia exhaled shakily, her voice filled with sadness. The Christmas miracle she had hoped for wasn't going to happen this year. Maybe next year. "Merry Christmas, Oliver," she whispered. She swallowed, holding back the words she really wanted to say. "I love you." But she knew he wouldn't say them back, even if he still felt it deep down. She missed hearing those words that he used to say so easily. No matter how many times Charlie said them, they never sounded the same. Oliver was her first love, her confidant, her soulmate. Losing him was a loss she couldn't fully comprehend. When the call ended, the silence that followed was overwhelming. Amelia burst into tears, wishing with all her heart that she could turn back time to the day she gave Oliver that chair. She realized she had made a terrible mistake, that Oliver would never come back and never forgive her. She was miserable with Charlie. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.